Hello, guys. This is the first day of the second 9 weeks. And so we are now going to begin our third topic of study, but we're still in Unit 2. And I know we took a Unit 2 test already, but this, um, the way our curriculum is set up, Unit 2 is broken into two sections: North America, which we just took a test on. And so now we're going to be studying Latin America. There's going to be a couple of changes that are being made. The first is that instead of just taking handwritten notes, I don't know how well that was working for you guys. I've posted a set of questions that we're going to answer throughout the unit. You're still welcome to add your own notes and keep track because everything that's said is fair game for the test and may not actually just answer the questions. So like in class, they're going to get a paper copy and they're going to write notes out in the margins as well. You are welcome to print this out and do that, or you can just add notes on a separate sheet of paper or something like that. But this is what we're going to be working from. It is posted in Google Classroom, so make sure you have it open while we're going through this. Today, we're going to be talking about the first three questions and answering those using your textbook, which has also been posted in Google Classroom. It says like Latin America textbook. I took the section of our digital textbook and just put the Latin America section in there so it would be easier to find. Latin America, let me get myself out of the way. Latin America, how do I do this? There we go. Latin America is generally understood to consist of the entire continent of South America. So this continent right here is South America. In addition to Mexico, which is oftentimes considered part of North America geographically, but culturally it is part of Latin America. So Latin America consists of South America, Mexico, Central America, which is the rest of this like long, skinny thing, and then the islands of the Caribbean. And they're put together regionally because they all speak Romance languages, which are considered to be French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So these people speak very similar languages, and that is why they are put together. You will have a map test on this. Everything in South America, Mexico, and Central America. For the Caribbean, you're not going to have to do these little tiny like territories. You'll just need to know Cuba, the Bahamas, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. I'm not going to have you memorize these tiny islands, but you will have a map test on this. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be, but be studying this map for sure. So like I said, Latin America is typically broken into 4 regions, so make sure you have them written or typed right here so that you know what those 4 regions are. The first region we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about it for the next 3 days, is Mexico. And so the first question is, what are the main physical features of Mexico? You're going to find this answer on page 242. So go ahead and pause this video, go to your textbook, and answer that question. When you're done answering that question, come back and we will move on. So you just should have written down the physical features of Mexico. I'm not going to tell you what those are right here. You should have gone and looked. So if you just tried to move on, you're not going to be able to do that. Go to the textbook and look. What we're going to look at right now is how those geographic physical features kind of present some challenges for Mexico with this short little video.
Mexico is defined by dramatic geographic features that have shaped the country's politics. Forming the southern portion of North America, Mexico borders the tropical Central American Isthmus. A broad band of desert defines Mexico's northern border with the United States. To the east and west, the Sierra Madre Occidental and Sierra Madre Oriental dominate the Pacific and Caribbean coasts, forming highlands that cradle the heart of modern Mexico. The desolate Baja California Peninsula shields approaches from the Western Sea. To the east, the tropical limestone outcropping, named the Yucatan Peninsula, dominates entry from the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico's Central Valley, which includes Mexico City and the adjacent Veracruz region, form Mexico's core. To control Mexico City is to control Mexico, and the greatest conventional threats to Mexico City have historically come from the deep-water port city of Veracruz. Since the 16th century, Spain, France, and the United States, not to mention mutinous factions of the Mexican military, have used Veracruz to threaten and conquer what is now Mexico City. Mexico's mountains and frontier territories are traditional hotbeds of unrest. From the rebels of Chihuahua and Chiapas to the drug kingpins of Nuevo Laredo and Sinaloa, the historical and ongoing challenge for Mexico is to subdue and incorporate far-flung, geographically isolated communities. The modern expression of this struggle can be seen in today's war with drug trafficking organizations, but it is a pattern that has repeated itself throughout history and has been shaped by the nature of Mexico's physical geography.
All right, so there you can see some of the challenges that Mexico's geography has presented to the country of Mexico. And we're actually going to get into some of those today. So the first thing we need to talk about is the core periphery theory. And this is evidently seen in Mexico, but Mexico is a country that has a clear core periphery spatial relationship. So what in the world does that mean? Well, this theory states that people and wealth generally move towards the urban core region. So urban means city, so large cities. Move towards the urban core regions away from the peripheral rural regions. So the core is like the center of economic and cultural activity. The periphery is everything outside of that. So the core is part of a country with the most economic activity and development, and therefore is the most prosperous. Periphery is area of low or declining economic development within a country and can be referred to as all of the area outside the core. The core doesn't necessarily have to be right in the middle of a country. It's just theoretically the center of economic development within that country. Places like the United States, you can see this a little bit, but everywhere is pretty developed economically and at the same rate. In Mexico, that is not the case. So before we move on, go to page 244 in your textbook and answer this question: how does the core periphery spatial relationship apply to Mexico? So pause this video and go answer that question. So you should have just answered question number 2. Again, if you didn't, you need to go back to the textbook and get that answer. But this is just kind of an illustration showing you what the core region of Mexico is. Mexico City is the capital. It's actually the largest city in North America, bigger than LA or New York City. It's huge. And so that's where like most of the economic development and people are going to be in Mexico, within this region right here. So it's a very small region compared to the rest of Mexico, which is unfortunate because it means a very small amount of people are making like all of the money. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. But here is just an example of how different this is going to look. So this is like the core. This is a city within the core. It looks like Mexico City. But this is a hut in the periphery. So the periphery. So that big city, right here, is going to be found in this core. But everywhere outside of that core pretty much looks like this. So you have people living very, very different types of lives, which brings us to, well, this should be question number 3. I apologize about that. How can the socioeconomic pattern of Mexico be illustrated? So go to page 247 and 249 and read about that socioeconomic pattern and the negative effects of that. So in your textbook, you would have seen Mexico's socioeconomic pattern illustrated as a pyramid. Because most of the people in the population are poor. You have a few middle class, and then very few people in the country are actually making the most money. What you typically want to see in a country, like it said, was like a diamond where there's more people in the middle than there are at the top or the bottom. That gives you a pretty balanced economy. This is not balanced at all, and it actually poses a very big threat to Mexico and actually causes much of Mexico's downfall. So the negative things we think about Mexico come from the way that their people are kind of categorized. And so we're going to get more into that tomorrow and Wednesday. But I am going to post a link to an article about a TV show that came out about Mexico and kind of the backlash it got because it showed Mexicans as living this wealthy elite lifestyle when actually most of them are very poor and living in that periphery region.